Hi, good evening. Welcome to Neighborhood News. My name is John Sylvia. It's another Tuesday night, and you were making me lose my chain of thought before we started this. We'll talk about that another time. Sorry.
Yes, it's Tuesday night, Channel 95, 7 o'clock at night. We're back with one more Neighborhood News show. If you are watching us and it's not a Tuesday night, it's because you're watching a repeat show. So look for our new show next Tuesday at 7 o'clock on this channel. For the Portuguese community, sejam bem-vindos a mais uma semana que estamos de volta para o programa Notícias da Sua Vizinhança. Nós estamos aqui consigo todas as terças-feiras no canal 95 às 7 da noite. Se está a escutar este programa e não é terça-feira à noite, é porque está a ver um programa repetido. Portanto, ligue o seu canal na próxima terça-feira, às 7 da noite, e de certo que nós vamos estar aqui com um show, com um programa novo para si. Todas as semanas nós trazemos convidados, quando nós temos convidados, nós, eu e o John, nós estamos aqui para lhe fazer companhia. Do you understand, John, right?
Oh, yeah. Maybe Josh did.
I completely understand.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So my last words was that when we usually have a guest, but when we do not have a guest, me and you are here to put a good show for them.
Try.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, try.
As long as we don't agree, it's a good show.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Then that's a problem. You're right.
That's the best show is when we don't agree. So anything on your neighborhood still? No?
It's pretty quiet because of all the snow. You know,
Yeah.
So it's been pretty quiet.
You have any place to put snow? I can send some snow to Niagara?
No, I should have brought a picture of my house in because I have a 6-foot pile because I've actually,
We can slide.
No, I actually paid somebody to come in and clean it all out and throw it in my yard because I was tired of hitting snowbanks, you know.
Yeah.
So, my snow's going to be there for a while.
That's good.
Yeah.
But I'm not that lucky. I don't have money to throw away on snow.
right, well,
either he's going to melt it or it's going to stay there. And
All right, who lives in Maplewood and who doesn't?
Eh?
Who lives in the Maplewood, which is like the Highlands? It's the South End
Oh,
Highlands.
really?
It's like the South End
Really?
Highlands.
South End
Oh my God.
That's what they say it is.
Listen, we have approved our agenda for this year.
Yeah.
I still missing some things that still up on the air. I can talk about them, but I don't have a date for.
Okay.
But we agreed in bus trips. We
So are a lot of them coming out?
yes, we have 8 bus trips this year.
Wow.
4th of July, it's a new bus trip this year that we added. We're going to spend 4th of July. We're going to watch fireworks at Niagara Falls in Canada.
Wow.
So it will be a 2-night trip.
Yeah.
And then August 23rd to the 31st, we have 8 days in Orlando, Florida,
Wow.
with everything included, hotel, parks. So look on our Facebook page, Flint Neighborhood Association /Facebook, and all the information it's there. I keep getting calls to add more, but I already added plenty. We pretty much have one every month. The month of June, we have 2. Matter of fact, we have 2. We're going to New York City on June 6th, and we're going to Day of Portugal in P-Town, which we've been doing for the past 3 or 4 years. You went there with us one year, right?
No, I went to Salem with you guys.
Salem. So we have in June we have 2. Now we have annual cleanup day that we do Britton Park. So that cleanup is going to be on June 7th. So month of June, we have the trolleys taking the kids to the trustees.
From the Watson School, right?
From the Watson School on June 4th. On June 6th, we're going to New York. June 7th, we have the Britton Park cleanup. June 8th, we have the Espírito Santo Day of Portugal tour in the city of Fall River. June 20, we have movie night. and June 24th, we have a monthly meeting. So this is month of June.
Wow.
Just the month of June, we
Jeez.
have like 8 things. It's like
That's a lot.
crazy. But again, the reason I do it is because people ask for, and you know, most things are repeats, and we look for to have them because
Thanks, yeah.
people come and they really enjoy the.
Sure.
the
You got to
the
tell
stuff.
people about the Canada thing. They need a passport.
Oh yes, yes,
They changed that a couple of years back. Yeah.
yes,
Oh, so
yes.
now
That
it's,
we've been.
it's a passport now?
Yes,
Hey, we were just talking about that at work today.
yeah, it
Cause,
is.
yeah, because we were talking about going over to Canada.
Yep.
If we had to go to Canada, at the time when I was little, used to be a birth certificate. That's all
Yeah.
you needed.
Yes.
I didn't know they
yeah.
changed it, so
now
it's good
they
to know.
changed a couple months ago. They changed it. Now it's passport. I've been telling everybody that they're going to need their passports. So we do have a lot of going on. For all the dates, you can again log into our neighborhood Facebook, and all the dates are there. If one thing that I would like to mention that it's not here, and it's one of the projects that we are doing, is we adding a project to honor our veterans. For years, we've been talking about do something for the veterans or to honor our veterans. Everybody knows that on the project of Travassos Park, we're going to have our monument dedicated to the veterans when the park is done. I hope next week, next year, or the end of this year, according to the state. But we are putting a campaign called Give Life. And the campaign is going to be a blood drive that I'm working together with Ray Higg from the Veterans Agency.
Cool.
So we're going to be putting the whole event together with the help of the Boys Club and the Red Cross. Are working with us on this project, and this is going to be a ceremony that we're going to do on our neighborhoods for the veterans, and on the same time we're going to promote life, give life, because to honor those that lost their lives because of us, to keep us safe.
Yep.
So I think it's a project that probably is going to be one more of the good projects that we keep doing every year, and that's one more that I'm very excited about. And
sounds
it's when I talked to Ray Higg, I agreed with him. He said, Carlos, it's an excellent idea because we raised everything. We raised money, we raised food, we raised clothes,
Yep.
but one thing that's always in need, it's blood. And we always short in blood. Our hospitals are always short in blood. And what a better way to honor our veterans, and it's doing this campaign, Give Life. So with that said, let's.
Are you done?
Oh, I could talk an hour about.
I was actually enjoying all that. Especially because my wife's a veteran, so.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So I'm very excited about this one that we're adding into our agenda this year.
Cool.
And so besides that, we're working on the carnival, and you know.
When's that happening?
Carnival is booked for April 27th to the 3rd. Because we lost our week vacation
Yeah.
dates,
Yeah.
because we didn't contact them in time.
Yeah.
With all this new election, and I didn't know if we were going to have the support of the mayor to do it, because usually the other administration was the one that put all the contacts and everything. So I kind of had, after the election, I had to contact them, get the information from them, and now we're doing our own, you know, contacts.
Where's that going to be held?
We are asking the Harbor Mall.
Harbor Mall.
To be
Hopefully
in a
the snow's
private-
melted by then.
I hope so. I hope so. So let's see what's going to happen if we could get that, because the project of the Vol School, it's to be completed this year, and we're going to be needed a lot of funds to complete that project.
Good,
So
good.
I think That's it.
Okay, just was checking. I mean,
Okay.
see, it lasted another couple more minutes.
No, that's good.
I'm teasing.
That's good.
So we have tonight Josh Fonte, and he's been pretty familiar in the community recently in the last, 6 or 7 months, you think?
So, something like that. Yeah, I've
Or a
been
little bit
a
more?
little more prevalent in the community, and obviously, it's been one heck of a ride. So,
Welcome
To say the
club.
least, right?
yeah.
Welcome
and
to the club.
then you have all the snow to add to it. So,
Yeah.
just
Welcome to Fall River.
makes everything merry. So.
So as someone, Josh, that, before the last couple months, you were kind of like, I think the rest of us, before we kind of, got involved to a point, I would see, or I didn't even know what the councilors' names were prior to, kind of like listening, because you get to the point where you sit down and say, instead of me complaining, what can I do? You know what I mean? What can I do to change this situation? Were you in that same predicament where you kind of were just sitting there and, you're watching TV, but you hear somebody complaining about Fall River?
Definitely, and it wasn't just Fall River. I mean, you're talking federally, statewide, locally, obviously the city of Fall River, and it was just one of those things where, if you don't have a solution, then I guess that, like they say, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
So, sometimes putting a solution together, which was, something I started getting involved in, which was, knowing what the city was all about, what was happening, and what wasn't happening, obviously, with some of our tax dollars and so on and so forth. So that's when I started getting a little more involved, especially locally, because federally, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You can only talk about it on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, and you hope somebody big picks up on it and retweets it for you or shares your post. But I mean, the chances of that happening usually is slim to none. So unless you're one of the congressmen or senators, then you can actually get something done. But locally, people listen. So that's what's cool about it.
Yeah.
Especially on social media and local paper, and obviously at the city council. So when people get to see you go up there and speak, people say, hey, that's John Silva. You know what I mean? John Sylvia up there talking about the neighborhood or whatever the case may be, and yourself as well. So people watch, and it's pretty cool how many people actually watch it from home and don't show up to the meetings, but yet are still involved.
At the last
Yeah, no, it's
meeting,
true.
at the
That's
last
true.
meeting was a new kid that was his first time that he approached the city council to talk about. He has some questions about the rules of citizens input and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that was Dave DeLima who,
Exactly,
who
DeLima.
went up on there, yeah.
So, and after we were talking on the hall, and he came to me and said, Carlos, I remember seeing you over there, but I don't know how you guys do it. I got so nervous. I got so nervous.
He
But-
didn't seem nervous to me.
Yeah, he said, I was so nervous. I don't know how you guys can do that. I said, but guess what? You did it.
Yeah.
And the second time is going to be easier.
Yeah.
And the third time, you're not even going to notice the cameras there. So it's good that we have new people approaching
Absolutely.
the city council.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
giving
you're
their
right.
ideas and question. Something that I never thought about was it's any rules about the citizens? What can we talk and what can we not talk about? So it's like,
I don't think there were that many people that normally would speak in front of citizens and, for citizens input too much before. So I think it was kind of like, there were the few people you spoke, that was it. And so I think it changed a little bit with them getting more folks in the chambers, for sure. you
Yeah,
know.
definitely.
So, so as far as your experience over the last 6 months, I'm going to just go over that again. You said it was a wild ride. Do you think you learned anything out of the whole experience?
One thing that I learned is patience. As Carlos and John, that I was part of the recall. Being one of the 12 and an affidavit wasn't easy. There were numerous amounts of people who came out and helped from all over the place in Fall River, obviously. And one of the things I learned going into it was patience, because you wanted to get it going, and then we wanted to get it done. Yeah. And when you're in that position, obviously the halt was the Board of Elections, going through that process and finding out when we could have had a date and when we couldn't have had a date. And I noticed that, with patience, eventually things fall into place, and that's exactly what happened. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned is patience. Sometimes you want to go out there and you want to put the horse,
Before the cart, right?
before the cart, and and you can't do that, especially when it comes, to politics, city government, the city council, you know, and the mayor's office. There's a lot of intriguing parts that make everything work. So you kind of have to learn each and every single individual department. And I think that's where the patience comes in, because there's a lot of people out there who, you know, they get into it and then they say, you know what, this, you know, maybe it's not worth it, or maybe just having somebody else do the work and then explaining what's going on. So that alone for me was a learning curve, because, you know, going into it, you don't know anything, and you start to get frustrated and irritated with yourself. So patience was something that I learned, because in politics, I think you need to have some patience, because you're not going to get everything that you look for or what you want right off the top. So
part of that patience comes, can we do this? Is this going to happen?
Yeah, well,
right?
and that was the question. You know, there were a lot of questions on whether or not this was going to happen. You know, and then obviously when we were going to court, you know, it's like now you have to find a lawyer. CJ and Chip did a wonderful job in doing the paperwork behind the scenes, because, you know, our bill would have been just as long as the mayor's.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't, because they did their part, and there was a lot of patience. There was a lot of you know, nights that we didn't get to go to bed until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, reading emails and searching law and going back and forth. So if people actually knew the type of work that was happening behind the scenes, patience is something I think a lot of us learned. And like you said, you know, that whole part of, is it going to happen, is it not going to happen, and every day was the question. But, you know, it was one of the things that CJ said, sometimes you just have to have a little bit of patience to see what tomorrow brings. And every day was a challenge.
Well, you were fighting a system.
Right.
So, you know, and when you don't have the resources, but it kind of, what you said, CJ said, kind of ties into, you got to work with the system you have, unfortunately, you know, and that's great that that's something that, you know, came out of that with.
Yeah.
So that's great, you know.
So, and then after the first part that, okay, we got the signatures, we in for this one. Now is, can we really take this guy out of there? Do we going to have the votes enough, you know?
I think when I know what you asked.
That's more patient again.
Yeah, and I think when we found out some of the candidates that were in, it was a matter of how the people were going to react to certain candidates, and not to put any of them on the hot seat, but we obviously, you know, had before Sutter, we knew that Kadeem was running, we knew that Mike Mayoza was going to run, Dave Dennis, and so, you know, the back trail, I think Mellum and Anderson. So those were candidates I thought that were pretty decent at the beginning, and then all of a sudden Sutter drops his name into the hat, and then you're like, well, I think we know who's going to win this. You know, obviously it was favorable, you know, for the recall, and I truly believe that if the mayor, if we would have been able to get some type of primary, I think it could have been a little bit easier to deal with all that. Obviously, the law wasn't written clearly enough for that to happen. So, you know, it could have went either way. It could have went Flanagan against Sutter. Could have went Flanagan against Kadeem. Could have went Sutter against Kadeem, and Flanagan would have been completely out. So that was interesting. That was where everything kind of got scary, because if Flanagan would have went against, you know, say, you know, somebody who wasn't as prominent as Flanagan could have gotten back in. So it was difficult to figure out how it was going to work and how it was going to actually help benefit the city.
Well, I think when, you know, and you have a bunch of lawyers, you have 10 lawyers, everybody has a different opinion.
Yes.
So I think when something's written, the intent is that this is how it should be.
Right.
But as an attorney, 20 years later, or actually 30 years later, you can look at it and poke holes in anything from 30 years ago.
Yeah, and it's all about interpretation, really.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what they get paid to do. So when you're paying somebody good money to do what they need to do, they're going to try to find a loophole somewhere in that law if it's not clearly stated. And I think we saw that completely, that whole scenario yesterday night with the committee meeting, decibel readings and the school bus situation that, or company that those residents are having with. So it's stuff like that, you know, eventually over time with our charter and with certain ordinances, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
And so
I remember to mention to John a couple of times that after you got all the signatures in and watching all the candidates running, we have a couple of conversations about, I don't know, John, is too many candidates.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You know, with too many candidates. So that actually, if it was just two, we could probably sit and relax more. Either way, either the ones supporting Flanagan or the ones that want to take Flanagan out, if it was just Flanagan against somebody else. But having, you know, all those running at the same time, we had a couple of conversations about, and you know, it was like a lot of questions. I don't know, between all these candidates, you know, he may get a shot because the vote's going to be divided.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise to me, and was a surprise to a lot of people, was the difference in votes that Sam got over the mayor.
Yeah.
Because pretty much the other ones was just a couple of hundred here and 500 there.
Yeah.
Was not really those thousands of votes like those two really got it. And I was surprised with the end numbers.
I think with the candidates, so everybody had a track record. And I think Sam's track record is just something that was a good track record. You know, he had a good reputation, and I think everybody could trust that. But I think the other folks there, I really think if Sam Sutter, who's our mayor now, didn't run, I think Mayor Flanagan would still be in office right now. That's my own personal opinion.
I think I can agree with that. I mean, it would have been a run, I think, between Kadeem and Flanagan, for sure. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people say, well, why do you back Mike? You know, Mike was kind of supported a little bit of the recall later on in the race. I just didn't think Mike Mayoza was in long enough, you know, to actually establish that position to be mayor. Not because of incompetence or he's not a good city council. It had nothing to do with that. It just the time frame. You know what I mean? It was just this is a new elected official, second time going in. You know, he's still have yet to prove himself. I think if like Linda would have went into the race, would have changed the outcome, I think, a little bit more because a lot of people know Linda. Not that I'm saying that Linda would have won, but I'm comparing apples and oranges here. And I think that's why I think Mike ended up falling down in the polls. Not because, like I said, of incompetence or not knowing what, you know, the side of government that he needed to know, just he hadn't been around long enough, I don't think. And because Kadeem was part of the administration and he knew the numbers and he did a good job with numbers in the city. To an extent, obviously, until now we know about some of the other things that happened with the budgets. You know, a lot of it, I believe, was Flanagan not allowing him to do the job that he was supposed to do as city administrator. But he knew the inside track and he knew what was going on in the 6th floor. And I think it would have been easier for people to say, hey, this kid has already been there. He knows what's going on. He knows the problems. And this is the guy I think that maybe should lead the city. But I think I can agree with you on it would have been a tight race for Flanagan and Kadeem, but I think Flanagan would have got a little bit more of an edge because you needed that powerhouse to come in and really help it, you know, wipe it down and say, listen, this is the real guy that we need. And you know, like you said, Sutter's got a good track record and a good reputation from the DA's office, and now you know he's got his 40 so odd days in office, and we have to see what he's going to do from here on out now. You know what I mean? So, you know, the only problem is that. And I'm sorry to take too much time, but you know, it's usually a 2-month transition period. And usually when a mayor gets elected, he's in for 2 years. So this guy's only in for about like 10 and a half months. So to do a transition as fast as possible and then pass a budget all of a sudden, you know, on top of that, and then try to run a campaign, I mean, there's a lot at stake there.
Yeah.
And you know, and just, you know, one other credit thing is that basically all the same people are working there, you know, so he's still got the same finance person that's there, that's doing this. The whole financial team is the same folks that are there. So if there were some questions as to the budget, these folks are the same folks that were doing this prior. So, you know, I think there you step back and you're a little nervous thinking, am I getting the same stuff that I got from there, you know? So I don't blame him for like not wanting to say anything until you look at everything, and then I want to verify what these people have said. I want somebody else to look at it and verify that they're being truthful. You know, so.
I think the only problem right now is that people in the city want to know of one program to see if it's actually working, which is pay as you throw. And I don't mean to bring up this discussion again, but like we were talking before, I think a lot of people have questions because they want to know what's happening with their recyclables, if we're getting any money back for that, how the bags are doing and what the compliance rating is. Now the city council is talking about fining people to make the program work, but then you have other councilors who have said in the past that there's an ordinance that allows people not to be fined. So it's a double-edged sword there.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to figure out what you really. Sometimes you're better off not saying anything.
Exactly.
And when you have a certain councilor who came on live on the air, who said there's an ordinance there. I remember the first time I took on the council, I was talking about the budget. At the end of my rant, because usually that's what it ends up being, is everybody goes up there to state obviously something that's going on. I asked him that question. You came on the radio and you said this, that, and the other about this ordinance. What's going on with it? So I was, my time was up and he had to answer the question, and he said, just like this, and I'll try to paraphrase as much as I can, I'm buying the bags and I urge everybody to buy the bags, but there's an ordinance in place that says that if you put a bag, whether it's purple, black, white, yellow, whatever color you want it to be today, you put it in there, as long as it's in that barrel, you're following the Sydney ordinance, you cannot be fined. So that was his opinion.
Yeah, but and you know what, Josh, not to interrupt you, but as you're talking about this, I'm thinking, but he's not an attorney.
Right.
So I totally agree with you. They shouldn't. That shouldn't have been brought up at the council. It was kind of like when Mayor Flanagan won over Carrera and said the rain taxes illegal. It was illegal. There were people after that happened when he got in. They weren't paying their water fee. They had to go back after them. That was like 6 or 7 months. There were people that weren't paying it because they said, "Why am I going to pay it?" Even the mayor says it's illegal.
It wasn't. It was never illegal. It was a legal statute that other towns and cities do as well,
But
not just Fall River.
Instead of making that in a way that we're not going to catch too much attention and be all over the media, now put the city councils in even worse situation, because now they know they don't agree with the bags, but they're going to have to put in too low now, so people can be fined. So it's like they're going to be worse now because people are going to know they're going to force them now to pay fines on.
I think right now the council is going to be on a hot seat.
Yes, because now they have to pass the law. They have to pass that into law.
And not only that, a lot of all of them, but two, passed the budget. Linda Pereira wasn't there; she couldn't vote. Danny Rigo voted against the budget. So when you pass something, and then all of a sudden now you're trying to redact everything you did, you can't. You took a vote, you said yes, this is the situation we're in. Would we have been better off with a 112 budget? I don't know, because we don't know the extent of how bad the finances really are behind the scenes. So that's something that could be an issue down the road where this next budget they say, hey, you know what, we're in an $8 million shortfall. And all these councils that are up there say, you know what, I can't vote for this.
Yeah, but one thing I have to say is this. I had said this too many times. I don't mind if you don't agree with me and vote against what I believe, as long as you keep and not change your vote.
Right.
And I have to take my hats to Dan Rigo, because he voted against the budget because of this, and now he says, and I stand against because I didn't vote for it.
Yeah, he's
I voted
That's
against.
fine.
So as long as you keep your votes either in favor or against me, as long as that you believe, you hold it.
Absolutely.
You got my.
Carlos, you had the last word, but just real quick before we end today, Josh, you're thinking of running for city council for this.
Well, yeah, actually, I'm actually a candidate for city council. I've already, it's already announced. We do have an event, if you don't mind me plugging it here on the show. March 14th at the Liberal Club. It's going to be a St. Patrick's Day meal with corned beef and cabbage. I believe it's going to be from 5 or 6 o'clock until about 8 or 9. So we'll, I'll have to get more details on there.
Sure.
You can go on Joshua Fonte for City Council on Facebook, and you'll get all the dates there. So
Very good.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thanks. So he
and
has
see you
last
guys
word.
next week.
Have a good night.
Thank you.